Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we have a great in-depth hair video coming your way. Today I'm going to go over hair color, underlying pigment, cool tones, warm tones, neutral, hair color level, toning, filling, permanent hair color, semi hair color, direct dyes, the pH scale, and the difference between what colors are, how they work, all that good stuff, underlying pigment, Olaplex, bleach, all that good stuff. Anything you need to know if you're in a beauty school or just getting out and starting your career, or you're a seasoned stylist who just needs to touch up on a couple of things and refresh. Today's video is where you want to be. Grab a notepad, grab a pen, grab a snack, grab a drink, and get ready, because this is going to be a real good learning video. Before we get started, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please feel free to join the family and do so, and hit that little bell so you're notified every week when I post a new video. If you want to follow me for education, I post daily on Instagram. It's at BR Hair Artistry. That will be up on the screen. And please give me a big thumbs up if you like this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this video. Be honest. Constructive criticism is always welcome. And another thing, any ideas on videos you guys want to see, especially during this time of quarantine, I have plenty of time. Let me know down in the comment section and I will put it on my list and get it going as soon as possible. Don't forget to share with friends and family who might be interested in my content. All right, guys, now without further ado, let's get started. Okay, guys, so we're first going to get started by going over the hair color level. So on the scale of hair color, there's 10 different levels. Some brands, you'll see their color lines have 1 through 10, and then you'll see 11 or 12. 11 or 12 does not exist in natural hair color level. 11 and 12 are usually just high lift color. High lift color is a color I'll go over later on a little bit more, but high lift color is different from regular color because it's more so used for that real big lift. So we all know 20 volumes, 2 levels of lift, 30 volumes, 3 levels of lift, 40 volumes, 4 levels of lift when you use a permanent color. But the high lift, you use double usually the amount of developer, and it gives you that little extra something. And it never ever shows up true to tone. If you ever watched any of my videos before or have been following me for a while, you know you never see me use a high lift. Nothing against them. I don't believe in breaking the base. I don't believe in high lifts. That's just something I prefer not to do. We're about to go over the hair color level and the underlying pigment, but all you need to know is with permanent color, the most brands, they'll say use 20 volume. I always use 20, especially for gray coverage. 10 volume we all know is to deposit only and no lift. 20 volume you need to really use with gray coverage to get that pigment in there and get that gray pigment out. But when you do use a 20 volume or anything up, you're going to open that cuticle a little bit and you're going to have all the underlying pigment rush through. So when I talk about underlying pigment, what am I talking about? You know, you're confused. What's going on? Underlying pigment, hair color level, Brett, this is all foreign to me. Let's break it down. So like I said, there's 10 levels of natural hair color. Level 1 is the darkest. Level 10 is the lightest. Level 1, we're going to start out with straight black. Level 1 is that dark black blue, the darkest hair you can possibly have. It's where you see it in the sun and you have like that bluish tint to it. That's a level 1, a true black. Level 2 is a soft black. That's what I like to call a soft black, that a lot of people will say darkest brown, but to me it's a soft black, and you don't see the black blue in it, but it's just that beautiful solid black. Level 3 is what I call and what is called darkest brown. That's what I like to do on a lot of clients who say I want to be soft black or I want to be black. They have no idea that I'm using a 3 on them because a 3 looks so similar to black. The human eye, unless it's trained, cannot tell the difference between levels 1, 2, and 3. So what I like to do, and a little tip you guys can take from me, is when a client wants to be black, whether it's permanent or semi-permanent, use a level 3. Unless they're like, I want to be black blue, I wouldn't just go with a level 3, because you have to remember, the darker the hair is, the harder it's going to be to get out in the future. Unless it's a client who's always going to do black, they've always done black, then give them what they truly want. Level 4 is my natural color. I was a level 8 as a child, and as I got older, which happens to a lot of people, I got darker. My natural level is a level 4, where you can see my hair coming in. That's a brown, just regular brown. Level 5 is a medium brown. Level 6 is lightest brown. Level 7 is darkest blonde. Level 8 is medium blonde. Level 9 is light blonde. And level 10 is the lightest blonde. That is where it's almost white. Those are the 10 levels of hair color. Now, where you have these 10 levels of color and hair levels, you also have something called underlying pigment. Now, as I was saying before, where you have that black and you see almost like a black blue, or if you have a nice brown and it has like that reddish hue to it in the sunlight, everybody's hair is made up of underlying pigment. Basically, if you're a blonde, the less underlying pigment you have. The darker your hair is, the more underlying pigment you have. So when you go to lighten the hair, you know how we see that ugly red and orange and copper and yellow? That is our underlying pigment. Every single person in the world has warm underlying pigment. I have never met a person who lifts when I'm bleaching them ashy. Everybody lifts warm and ugly and nasty. But your hair, in order to hold the color that you are, must have those required underlying pigments. For example, a level 1 true black underlying pigment is, believe it or not, blue. Levels 1, 2, and 3 that are actually ashy underneath. Most of the time we see red, we see orange, we see yellow, we see these warm colors. But technically, level 1, 2, and 3, they all have cool tones that they have when they lift. But you'll never see the hair lift blue. You'll never see the hair lift violet, because it literally is like boom. The minute the bleach hits it, it goes right to usually a red, like a level 5. So underlying pigment for black is blue. That's where you get that black blue from. A level 2 soft black underlying pigment is a blue violet. Level 3 darkest brown underlying pigment is a violet. A level 4 brown, like my underlying pigment, is a violet red. Level 5 brown is a straight red. So if you're a level 5, underneath is a straight red. A level 6 underlying pigment is red orange, which is one of the hardest levels, 5 and 6, to kick through when you're lightening. Level 7 is straight orange, which we know is copper. Level 8 is orange yellow. Level 9 is yellow. And the lightest, level 10, is a pale yellow. That's how you usually want to see the hair when you're pulling off the foils, where it looks almost white. It's like the inside of a banana. That's ideal for us hairstylists. So the next thing I want to talk about is tones. Now, we always talk about toning and filling. We'll get into that in a minute. I want to straight talk about the basics of tones. We have warm tones, cool tones, and neutral tones. People, us as human beings, have something we call an undertone. This doesn't matter if you're tan, it doesn't matter if you're white or you're black. We all have something called an undertone. You can be warm, you can be cool, you can be neutral. The best way to tell what you are and what really looks good on you is to check the wrist area of your veins. If your veins are blue, you are cool toned. If your veins appear green, you're warm toned. If your veins are like, oh my God, I don't know if they're blue, I don't know if they're green, I can't tell the difference, you're probably neutral. Another way to tell about your undertone is to take a white blank piece of paper and go into the bathroom and look in the mirror. And if you see pinkish hues, as you guys can see for an example with me in my face, there's always like a pinkish hue. Do you see that? There's always pinkish around my face, or red. If your neck has pinkish or your face has pinkish hues, you're usually cool. If you see more of a yellow hue, that means you're warm. Why is this important? Because not everybody can just throw on anything. If you are cool toned, you need to stick with your cool tones. For example, I am a cool toned person. I might have tan skin, but that doesn't matter. A lot of people judge it by the color of the skin, and that's not how it goes. It goes by the underlying tone. So you can see a lot of pinkish hues in my face. As you see, my hair is white. My hair is white, almost silver. It more leans to that cooler toned color. So cool tones are like a mushroom brown or a black or a white platinum. These are ashy cool tones. If you're a neutral, you want to usually stick in between the neutral tones. A warm and a cool together 50-50 is what makes a neutral. So if you're neutral, you have warm and you have cool. My warm toned people look good in like a red brown or a golden blonde or a honey honey blonde, warm tones like copper. Now, a question I get all the time is about reds. People are saying you never mention level 1 through 10 hair color level. Where's the reds? Well, reds are two different kinds. We have our orange reds, which are our coppers, and then we have our red reds, like a stop sign red, and then we have our red violets, which are violet mixed with red. Okay guys, so next thing I want to talk about is the pH scale. Okay, so the pH scale for the acidic side is 0 through 6.9. Number 7 is our neutral, and alkaline is 7.1 through 14. Our hair is 4.5 through 5.0. Acidic, alkaline, neutrals, these are all really important when it comes to hair color. I was saying in the last video how I am a big fan of SemiPermanent, and that is because SemiPermanent is acidic, which is really good for the hair. It is in that 0 to 6.9 scale. And then alkaline is your permanent color, your high lift, your bleach, stuff like that. I think bleach is actually like 13 out of 14, the highest. So that shows you what is more damaging on the hair. SemiPermanents, semi-permanents, direct dyes, these are all colors that do not go into the cuticle. I want you guys to imagine a straw, and I want you to imagine the straw having the shingles on your roof on the outside of every part of it. So you see how the flaps are down? When your hair grows in and it's fresh, those flaps are closed. As soon as you use alkaline permanent color or a lightener, it will open that cuticle. Once that cuticle is open, it will never ever close all the way again. You know, when your hair, you could tell it needs a trim or a cut when you're combing it, and when you get to the end, it like almost like is rough. That's because all of your shingles on your hair are open, way open, and they're not closing. And once that happens, the only thing to do is get rid of that hair. Semi-color is more of like the direct dyes where they are basically stained. So the molecules in direct dye, which are your red, your blue, your passion colors that are temporary, they are huge molecules. So imagine a really big overweight person trying to squeeze through a door that's open that much. They're not going to get in. That's what happens. It stains the hair on the outside, and that's why sometimes direct dyes can be really hard to get out depending on the brand you're using. I know Sally's has an ion line, and I've had clients where it took us 8 or 9 sessions to even kick through a green or a blue. SemiPermanent, which is my favorite, it's acidic and it doesn't really go into the cuticle either. A little bit gets in there, but it's mostly on the outside. This will shut that cuticle down as much as possible and keep it as closed as possible, or as close to closed. That's when you see the shininess, or you have that smooth feeling, because those shingles are basically almost closed, or as close as they mostly can be. That's why I prefer to use a SemiPermanent when root toning and when I am toning or doing a low light or all over color, because they are way, way easier to kick through and kick out of the hair. Now, permanent color usually requires 10 to 40 volume. Most demi colors have their own dedicated developer that's usually 10 or under. I think Shades EQ is like 5. I think the more lower the volume, the healthier it is. When you get to that permanent color is not permanent, like I said in my last video, because it stays and it's permanently there. All color fades. So when you have a client who's like, oh, I want permanent color because I don't want it to fade. Permanent demi, direct dyes, they all fade. And I feel like a lot of clients don't know that. And I know a lot of stylists who weren't educated properly on that either. So you guys need to know that color always fades. Permanent color is harder to get out of the hair, and permanent, the name comes from you permanently altering that hair. So once you open that cuticle and that color goes in and replaces your color, you'll never ever return to the original state of that virgin hair. That's why when you want to dye your hair a different color, you have to lighten it with a bleach or a color remover to get that pigment out of the inside of that cuticle. And another thing that, you know, goes into this is when you're using a permanent color, and say I have a gray client, I like to use 20 volume. 20 volume, if you're using it with color, gives you, you know, 2 levels of lift, 30 volumes, 3 levels of lift, 40 volumes, 4 levels of lift. The only time I will use the permanent color is if somebody is literally requesting it, or if it's gray coverage and they need that color to get in there. You guys know I like using Joico Lumishine Permanents, which are not double pigmented. They're for regular people who have no gray, and I'll use 10 volume with them. And I prefer to use permanent color for the level that the person wants or darker. I do not like lightening hair that's virgin with a permanent color. What happens when you go in and use a 20 or 30 volume with a permanent color, you're opening that cuticle and you're lifting and depositing. So if you want 3 levels of lift and you're a natural level 3 and you're using a 30 volume with a level 6, you're going to jump 3 levels. So level 4 is violet red, level 5 is red, level 6 is red orange, underlying pigments of those levels. So when you are opening your cuticle and you're jumping up those levels and lifting, all that underlying pigment is going to be exposed. And even if you use an ash, the strongest ash in the world will not combat all that warmth. This is why I'm a big fan of using lightener and lightening with lightener to get people lighter. I will never do it with color because you'll never truly reach the level you want with the tone that you want correctly without using a lightener to go in there and eat all that, underlying pigment up and then deposit it with a demi-color afterwards. That's what I prefer to do. I will never break the base. Break the base is when somebody uses a permanent color and they'll throw it on the root area of the client and they'll literally leave it on 5 to 10 minutes while it's lifting, and you'll get like 2 or 3 levels of lift, and then they hurry up and wash it off, and it will make their natural color a little lighter so it blends better with the hair. And a high lift is a level 11 or 12 like Goldwell has or other brands have that's permanent. High lift is usually double the developer, so it's usually like double 40. It's like 1 to 2, 1 part color, 2 parts developer, and you leave it on and it tries to give you those extra levels. So the most you can usually go with 40 volume is like 4 levels, but with the double developer and all that and the high lift and the alkaline and everything in that tube of color, it actually pushes it a little bit more. So when you want to be a level 8 and you're using a level 11 high lift and you're a natural level 5, or let's say a level 4, you're usually only going to get to a level 8 anyway, but you'll have a really, really warm, yellowy, orangey, coppery, warm blonde, if that makes sense. If you're cool tone like me, using a color to lift to be lighter is not ideal. I used to do it. I would use like a level 6 or 7, but I can't go any higher than that. I'm a level 4. If I tried to, it's just way too warm. So for me, the easiest is to just lighten my hair and deposit a toner or a demi color onto it.